Welcome to the Cross Crime Channel, the portal to the darkest corners of human history, where we meticulously dissect and analyze true crime cases from around the globe. Before we dive into today's riveting case, remember to show your support by hitting that like button, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement fuels our quest for truth. Now, get ready as we delve into the case of Zhang QQ. Today's focus is on Wangping Village, situated in Xinji Town, Nanzheng District, Hansong City, within Shaanxi Province, China. Within this village, the Zhangs and the Wangs are prominent families. The bond between the Wangs and the Zhangs was exceptionally tight. The Wang family clan, with its multitude of members, directs our attention to the patriarch, Wang Zixin, born in 1947. Zixin, not born into affluence, later adopted a life of farming. In due course, he entered into matrimony and fathered three sons: Jiayojun, born in 1971, Fujun, born in 1979, and Zhengjun, born in 1980. Zixin harbored aspirations for his children's education, aiming to provide them with the best opportunities. Turning our focus to the Zhang family clan, it too was extensive. Central to our narrative are Zhang Furu, his spouse Siping, and one of their children named QQ, born in 1983. Sharing a farming background, both families found common ground in their experiences and pursuits. The children from both families address each other's fathers as father, as a gesture of mutual respect. They had a history of working together on farming tasks and household activities. Their close relationship was well recognized by neighboring families. Both households are deeply involved in agriculture, cultivating vegetables, wheat, and rice on their fields. The village's rice processing plant awarded contracts to both families for their rice harvests. The agreed arrangement was that the Wangs would hold the contract for the first year, with the understanding that the Zhangs would take over in the second year. However, at the end of the first year, it was reported that the Wangs, despite the initial agreement, made substantial profits and unexpectedly refused to relinquish the contract. This clash marked a decline in relations between the two families. Subsequently, the Wangs developed a persistent belief that the Zhangs were engaged in conversations with fellow villagers, plotting to undermine their business. The initial discord surfaced between the two families. In June 1996, a heated altercation erupted between them on the road in front of their homes. From that point onward, the families found themselves in complete opposition, with tensions escalating to the brink of familial destruction. One evening, in late August 1996, Fujun, the second son of the Wang family, stood in front of their residence. As Siping passed by, Fujun claimed that she attempted to spit at him, narrowly avoiding contact before moving on. In response, he berated her, labeling her a crazy woman. Approximately 10 minutes later, when Siping returned, she made a second attempt to spit at Fujun, this time aiming for his face. Fueled by youthful energy, Fujun retorted with curses and proceeded to slap Siping. The confrontation intensified, leading to a scuffle, with both families rushing to the scene. Fujun's brother, Zhengjun, joined the fray. Siping, seizing a flat iron bar from her daughter, struck Zhengjun on the forehead. Zixin, the brother's father, was heard shouting, "Beat her to death! Kill her!" In response, the younger son, Zhengjun, grabbed a stick from a pile of firewood, striking Siping directly on the head. She collapsed with a muffled sound, but the brothers, considering her typically abusive behavior, remained indifferent. As Siping lay on the ground, Furu, having taken a beating himself, fell multiple times while attempting to aid his wife. 13-year-old QQ also tried to assist his mother, tearfully witnessing the distressing scene. News of the family feud quickly circulated through the village. The local elder reported injuries on both sides of the conflict. Saiping lost consciousness and was transported to the town hospital, where she was declared dead on arrival. The villagers brought her body back home from the hospital. Subsequently, the police were summoned. Unaware of the fatality, the three Wangs remained at home until the arrival of the police, who took them into custody for investigation. Law enforcement authorities suspected that the youngest son, Zhang Jun, delivered the fatal blow resulting in Saiping's death. Zixin and his second son, Fu Jun, were allowed to return home. Following Saiping's demise, her body was placed at her residence due to the absence of a suitable facility at that time. The medical examiner soon arrived to conduct the autopsy, which took place outdoors on the road in front of the Zhang's home. Numerous onlookers, including 13-year-old QQ, gathered to witness the examination. Witnessing the public autopsy of his mother caused immense pain and discomfort for QQ. Despite the emotional turmoil, he remained composed, showing no signs of tears during the entire procedure. A few days later, Saiping was laid to rest, marking one of the most agonizing days in QQ's life. The case went to trial in December 1996 at Zheng County Court. Considering that Zheng Jun, the alleged perpetrator, was under the age of 18 and confessed to the crime, the court deemed him eligible for a more lenient punishment. Despite acknowledging Zheng Jun's guilt, the court also assigned some fault to the victim, Saiping. Ultimately, Zheng Jun was convicted of intentional injury, resulting in death, and received a 7-year prison sentence. For civil compensation, the plaintiff's representative proposed a compensation of 100,000 yuan, or roughly $14,130 to cover the economic losses. However, considering Zheng Jun's status as a student and minor, coupled with the Wang family's economic difficulties, the court issued a discretionary compensation order. The Wang family was instructed to pay a total of 9,639 yuan, or roughly $1,360 to the Zhang family, having already spent 8,139 yuan, or roughly $1,150 on funeral expenses. The bereaved Zhang family found the verdict unfair and sensed an injustice. Several trial witnesses closely affiliated with the Wang family made the proceedings biased in the defense's favor. Jiao Jun, the eldest son, held a position in the township government, contributing to the skewed testimony. The verdict aligned with the Wang family's narrative of events, despite initial reports of 3 individuals involved in the altercation, ultimately singling out a minor as the sole perpetrator. A pivotal aspect of the dispute emerged during recent interviews with Zhang's father and sister. Surprisingly, they asserted that Fu Jun, the second son of the Wang family, was the one responsible for Saiping's death. According to their account, Zheng Jun took the blame because he was under 18. In contradiction to this, Fu Jun claimed that it was his brother, Zheng Jun, who assaulted him. The verdict, however, unequivocally assigned responsibility to Zheng Jun. Despite Furu's desire to appeal, no legal action was taken within the stipulated time frame, rendering the judgment legally binding. Although Furu later expressed a wish to appeal, the matter was ultimately settled. The Zhangs chose not to exercise their right to appeal, convinced that any such effort would be futile. Reluctantly accepting the situation, they felt powerless to change it. Subsequently, the two families resumed their separate lives, never engaging in communication with each other again. The village buzzed with discussions about the killing after dinner, and soon enough, Wangping village settled back into its usual tranquility. However, an undercurrent of hatred and the desire for revenge took root in the heart of a child, awaiting the opportune moment to surface. Back at home, QQ resumed his normal study routine, albeit with a stark difference. Silence dominated his home. Despite sharing his thoughts of revenge with others, his family and friends dismissed it as a childish notion. Since his mother's tragic death, QQ had visited her grave only once. In 2001, upon completing junior high school, QQ enlisted in the army and was stationed in the Chinese region of Xinjiang. Army life was rigorous, filled with daily training. When asked by his squad leader why he joined the army, QQ mentioned his desire to exercise and seek vengeance for his mother. However, the response received no further challenge and went unnoticed. Returning to his hometown in 2003 after leaving the army, QQ sought employment in Guangdong to make ends meet. Despite life's challenges, he maintained a cheerful personality, refraining from smoking, drinking, or gambling. At home, he would often sit in his room and watch TV, seldom venturing outside. In 2005, QQ entered into a relationship, sparking new ambitions. With the family's support, he expanded the family house and constructed a new brick dwelling in 2007, investing a total of 20,000 yuan, or roughly $2,830. Plans were in motion to add a second floor, but in the same year, QQ experienced a breakup with his girlfriend. The split occurred because his girlfriend desired marriage, a prospect that didn't align with QQ's plans. Financial constraints and lingering hatred over his mother's murder led him to reject the idea of marriage. In the first half of 2017, at the age of 35, QQ ventured abroad to work in Fiji. However, due to unfavorable working conditions, he returned home in August of the same year. Opting not to resume work immediately, he planned to wait until after the Spring Festival. The Spring Festival is a time for individuals who have been occupied throughout the year to return to their hometowns, reuniting with family, purchasing New Year essentials, and preparing for a vibrant and festive celebration. Following local traditions, the 30th day of each year is dedicated to visiting graves and honoring ancestors. Consequently, every household ventures out to pay homage to their ancestors at the burial sites. The village occasionally echoes with the sounds of scattered firecrackers. However, what is about to unfold completely shatters the tranquil atmosphere of the Spring Festival. During this period, QQ led an ordinary life, meeting friends and relatives, watching TV at home, and taking the occasional exercise walk. No one observed anything unusual about him. Turning attention to the Wangs, Zixin and his wife continued residing at home after the incident. Eldest son, Jiaojun, having ascended to an official position, frequently visited the family home more often, as he was not directly involved in the events. The second son, Fujun, rarely returned to the village, choosing to live on school campus. After graduation, he pursued work outside the family home. Zhang Jun, the third son, serving a juvenile detention sentence, earned an early release after exhibiting good behavior, 4 years in detention and 3 out of prison. Post-release, Zhang Jun commenced work in the city of Xi'an while pursuing independent studies. Eventually, he gained admission to a junior college and continued residing in Xi'an after graduation. According to relatives' accounts, the financial status of the three Wang brothers was less than favorable. Zhang Jun often sought loans for a business venture he desired to undertake. Over the span of more than 20 years, the father, Zixin, resided in the same old earth house without a courtyard wall. Even when the sons visited, their stays were brief. The two families became strangers over time, with Wang Fujun noting occasional visits to his hometown, observing QQ standing outside his house. The Wang brothers repeatedly urged their parents to relocate, fearing potential retaliation. However, the father insisted that the matter had been legally resolved. He often recited that Zhang Jun had served his 7-year sentence And that was the end of it. Despite rarely returning home for the Spring Festival over the years, 2017 marked a special occasion for Zhang Jun. Returning to Wangping village on the 21st day of the 12th lunar month, he began residing back at the family house momentarily due to financial constraints. 10 days had passed, marking the longest period Zhang Jun had stayed at the family house since the tragic incident. Fu Jun cautioned his brother about potential retaliation from the Zhang family. Zhao Jun's arrival in his car marked the beginning of the Spring Festival celebration. The family gearing up for the new year, prepared by slaughtering a pig. Unbeknownst to everyone, QQ harbored years of repressed hatred, concealing a sinister plan for this Spring Festival. The mere presence of Zhang Jun in the village had stoked his fury. Secretly withdrawing 40,000 yuan, or roughly $5,650 from the bank, QQ handed the money to his father, claiming it was for buying seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides. Little did the father know that this sum represented all the hard-earned savings of QQ. He also acquired hats, masks, single-blade knives, gasoline bottles, and other tools, patiently awaiting for the opportune moment for his retribution. On February 15, 2018, QQ's father, Furu, ventured out in the morning to honor his ancestors in the mountains. Ostensibly doing laundry at home, QQ urged his father to return early for dinner, concealing the chilling truth of his preparations. As the Wangs and their relatives readied themselves to pay respects to their ancestors, QQ donned his hat and mask, gripping the single-bladed knife he had meticulously prepared. Approaching the Wang compound, he encountered Zhao Jun and Zhang Jun, swiftly drawing his knife and stabbing them without uttering a word. Entering the Wang residence, he confronted Zixin, the father, and launched a brutal attack. Exiting the house, QQ set Zhao Jun's car ablaze before fleeing the scene. Astonishingly, he spared the women in the Wang family, shouting, "You're women! I'm not going to kill you today." Post-crime, QQ walked outside the village, discarding the blood-stained knife into a puddle. Concealing himself in the grass by the river throughout the night, he awoke and wandered aimlessly for an extended period. Realizing escape was futile, QQ chose to turn himself in, repeatedly asserting that his motive was payback. He insisted that his dissatisfaction lay solely with the personal tragedy of his mother's death, declaring, "If my mother had not died, my life would have been fine." The shocking events unfolded in a manner that left the entire nation of China in suspense and disbelief. On January 8, 2019, the trial of QQ unfolded at Hanzhong Intermediate People's Court. Defense attorneys, adopting a criminal psychology perspective, highlighted QQ's profoundly distressing childhood. His mother's death occurred in his arms, and the traumatic experience of witnessing the autopsy was emphasized. The defense urged the court to consider these factors. Despite the defense's arguments, the court delivered a first-instance death sentence to QQ, prompting an appeal. On April 11, the appeal was rejected and the initial verdict was upheld. On July 17, 2019, Zhang QQ faced execution. The case sparked widespread concern and controversy in society. Some argued that QQ's revenge for his mother could be understood, while others contended that the case was marred by a miscarriage of justice. The aftermath of the incident left the community divided over the morality and justice surrounding QQ's actions and the legal proceedings that ensued. Upon receiving the news of QQ's execution, Fu Jun, the lone survivor from the victim's family, expressed a sentiment far from joy. Despite QQ facing the ultimate consequence, it does not bring solace to his heart. The irreversible loss of 3 family members cannot be undone by QQ's death. In this tragic scenario, there are no winners. Only profound sorrow and a lingering sense of alarm persist. And thus, we conclude the resolved Zhang QQ case. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next investigation. And if you have any theories or insights about this case, share them in the comments below. Until next time, remember, the pursuit of truth never rests, and in the world of true crime, there are always more mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Stay safe.